Kim Yak was so unlucky, it was almost comical. He was diagnosed with a one-of-a-kind illness, a disease so rare, no one else in the world had it. And the worst part, he only had 6 months to live. His entire life had been nothing but struggle and servitude. He never got to enjoy the simple pleasures others took for granted. No love, no freedom, no fun. What crushed him the most, though, was the thought that he'd die a virgin. And as if life wasn't already cruel enough, the very day he was diagnosed, he won the lottery. A jackpot that could have changed everything. But it was too late. He died. But his story didn't end there. Instead of eternal rest or being reborn as someone powerful, he came back as a bald skeleton in the underworld. A low-ranking monster. His new job? Eliminate all the rebellious forces threatening the demonic realm. So he got to work. He crushed the resistance, wiped out the traitors, and saved demonkind from total destruction. He brought peace to the chaos. And in doing so, he rose to the top, earning the title of the Undying Sovereign, the Great Demon King. People called him King Isaac. They always mispronounced his name. It was Yak, not Isaac, but he gave up correcting them. After all, it didn't really matter, because power and fame weren't his goal. What he really wanted was to become human again, not for power or revenge. He just wanted to eat, to feel pain, to cry, to bleed, the things he'd been denied both as a human slave and now as an undead king. So, after completing the task given to him by the gods, bringing the head of the last rebel leader, he marched into the divine realm. He had done everything they asked. The mission they said would take 500 years. He cleared it in just a few. Now it was their turn to fulfill the deal. According to the contract, the gods were supposed to grant his wish and return him to human form. The gods, stunned by his success, never actually thought he'd make it this far. They never intended to grant the wish. The whole point of the task was to keep him busy forever. One god even suggested one more mission. Just one more little favor. But Yak wasn't stupid. He saw through the lie instantly. And when he did, his rage erupted. The power he unleashed shook the entire realm. The gods, terrified, panicked. They couldn't fight him directly, so they resorted to a forbidden spell. They summoned a strange centipede-like creature. By writing Yak's name on it, they could seal away his power and soul permanently. It was the highest-class sealing technique, one they only used in times of absolute disaster. So they cast the spell. The plan was simple: trap him inside the creature and erase his threat forever. But Yak wasn't going down like that. He gathered every ounce of power he had and detonated it. A massive explosion shook the heavens. When the dust cleared, Yak's body was gone. The only thing left was the little centipede, the one meant to contain his soul. The gods assumed the spell had worked. With the Demon King gone, they believed they were safe again. They laughed. They relaxed. But not all of them were convinced. One wise god warned the others not to let their guard down. If a being like Yak had been born once, it could happen again. So he proposed a new plan: create the perfect vessel for a holy saint in the human realm. A weapon to destroy demons completely and prevent any future uprisings. Another god pointed out that it would take an enormous amount of energy, and whoever created the saint would pay a heavy price. But the one who volunteered didn't care. All he needed was the right soul to place inside the saint's body. As for the Demon King, they believed he was trapped, sealed inside the centipede, helpless for all eternity. But Yak wasn't done. He opened his eyes, reborn again. But this time as a baby. Confused and disoriented, he tried to make sense of what had happened. The only explanation was that the gods had messed up the seal. Somehow his soul had escaped and landed in a newborn human body. Around him, servants rejoiced, calling him a saint. But something about their joy felt off. Then one of them pulled out a strange green liquid in a feeder. The moment he saw it, panic set in. Every instinct in his body screamed that it was poison. He had just been reborn, and already someone was trying to kill him, and he had no idea why. A crooked smile spreads across the servant's face as he mutters an apology for what he's about to do. As soon as he tries to put the feeder's nipple into Yak's mouth, the baby twists his head side to side, doing everything he can to dodge it. The servants begin to panic. They can't figure out why the saint, this sacred baby, won't drink his formula. But Yak has his reasons. After finally becoming human again, he's not about to risk dying from some suspicious green liquid. Something about it feels off. Before anything else, he needs to figure out how he even came back to life as a human in the first place. Then it happens. One of the servants calls him by a name. Isaac. That name hits him like lightning. It's the same name the gods and the demons used when addressing him. The same name from his past life. The same name written during the sealing ritual. And then it clicks. The gods used Isaac instead of Yak in their seal. They wrote the wrong name. That tiny mispronunciation, that one mistake, is probably what saved him from being locked away forever. Instead of being sealed, he was reincarnated. Into a different body. Still human. Still alive. A wicked grin spreads across his baby face. Those arrogant gods. They failed. Just as he revels in this revelation, the servants seize the opportunity and jam the bottle into his mouth. They try to hold it there, struggling against the freakishly strong newborn who just keeps resisting. But eventually, Yak calms down and gives in. He takes a sip. The taste? Like vegetable juice. Disgusting but not poison, or so he thinks. It's so awful that he starts to wonder if poison might have been the better option. Then he feels it. Something sinister crawling through his veins. Ominous energy entering his system. Back in the Holy Empire's central temple, far from the nursery, an old bishop grins smugly. He's confident that the poison has done its job. That the saint candidate, the baby from House Ezua, is dead. Just then, the emperor of the Holy Empire, Alexander Heathcliff Hela, walks into the temple. He's here for one reason. To see the new saint candidate from House Ezua. The bishop, putting on a fake smile, greets him. They exchange pleasantries, pretending to care for one another while hiding their true motives. Suddenly, a messenger bursts into the room, panting and shouting that there's urgent news regarding Isaac. The bishop's heart leaps with joy. Surely, it's confirmation of the baby's death. His plan must have worked. Alexander and his knights rush to Isaac's room. But what they find is underwhelming. Isaac isn't dead. His belly is just swollen from chugging bottle after bottle of that nasty juice. The servants nervously explain that the boy has already guzzled down 15 bottles. Everyone in the room is stunned. The baby's fine. More than fine, actually. But for the old bishop, this news is devastating. How could a newborn survive that much holy poison? To understand that, we rewind back to Isaac's very first bottle. The moment he swallowed the juice, he sensed something dark seeping into him. And then he realized it was holy poison, a substance crafted specifically to destroy those with divine power. It's designed to be slow and subtle, gradually breaking down the user's holy essence. But for Isaac, this poison was made with demonic mana. And demonic mana is like a delicacy for a former demon king. To him, it's a treat. A buzz. Like magical weed. He could drink it all day and ask for seconds. Which is exactly what he did. After the first bottle, he screamed for another. The servants, whose mission was to make sure he drank the poison, were only too happy to oblige. Isaac, in turn, kept drinking, absorbing all the demonic mana like it was nothing. This gave him access to the unconscious realm, the deeper layers of his being, where he began constructing something essential, his mana core. A spark ignited in his hands as he gathered all the mana he'd absorbed. A core began forming. But something went wrong. There was a burst, a small explosion, and when the energy settled, what he saw wasn't normal. Mana cores are supposed to come in 3 standard colors, each one corresponding to a specific type of magic. His was white. He had no idea what that meant. But what mattered more than the color was the power. The core pulsed with insane energy. Far more than a newborn or even a seasoned mage should be able to handle. Isaac smiled. He was holding the key to something extraordinary. A blessing in disguise. With this kind of power, there was no telling what kind of monster he could become. If he trained right, refined himself, and took advantage of this second chance, he could surpass every limit he'd ever known. He remembered the past, how he died pathetically, how he struggled, how he was enslaved even in death. But now, he was reborn, and every skill, every buff, every magic spell he invented as a demon was still with him. While Isaac explored his subconscious and shaped his mana core, his body in the real world remained still. The servants started to panic. Was he dead? Then, without warning, Isaac lifted a tiny finger and pointed toward the ceiling. He cranked up his volume and screamed for another bottle of that nasty juice. Back in the present, Emperor Alexander and his knights are relieved. The saint is alive and well. Isaac, too, is relieved. For a second, he really thought someone was trying to assassinate him. Spoiler alert, someone definitely was. As he looks around the room, he notices the bishop staring at him with a look full of hatred. Isaac is confused. Why is this guy glaring at him like that? Did he eat too much? What did he do wrong? He quickly shakes off the thought and decides to just play it cool, act like a regular baby. He doesn't want to do anything that might seem off or draw unwanted attention, so he sticks to his role as a clueless infant while the old man nearby is practically shaking with rage. As far as this bishop is concerned, Isaac should be lying on the floor right now, coughing up blood, struggling for his last breath. Instead, the kid's grinning ear to ear like he's mocking him on purpose. And that's driving the old man insane. A few days earlier, back at the Holy See's headquarters, a major revelation was made. Whoever is chosen as the saint will also gain control over the Holy Empire. That announcement made waves. And there's one golden-haired guy who didn't take it well. He knew the noble families weren't interested in the title because of faith or belief. They wanted the power. All of it. And he wanted that power for himself. That same bishop, our favorite old coot, was right there, swearing loyalty to this golden-haired guy, promising him that he'd eliminate all the other saint candidates, leave no one standing in the way. But the golden boy had heard rumors. Whispers of a new saint candidate emerging from House Ejua, the very house with close ties to the emperor. Yep, they're talking about our boy. Hearing this, the bishop stiffens. He knows that dealing with House Ejua's candidate is going to be the biggest challenge of all. Still, he reassures his master. The kid will be dead long before the emperor gets a chance to select him. But that's not enough for this golden-haired man. He orders the bishop to return to House Ejua and confirm the death himself, verify the corpse and report back. This man is none other than Cardinal Harry Barrett, head of House Barrett. And his plan is simple: wipe out every other candidate so the next saint is guaranteed to come from his own family. Now, back in the present, the bishop stares at the still very much alive child in front of him, dread written all over his face. Sweat drips down his back as he imagines the punishment waiting for him. The cardinal won't tolerate failure. Meanwhile, Emperor Alexander finds himself fixated on Isaac's hair. Platinum blonde, just like the empire's founder. That detail grabs his attention. In the background, the bishop is barely holding it together. To him, comparing this baby to the empire's founder is outright blasphemy. Then he hears the bishop refer to Alexander as Your Majesty, and Isaac instantly realizes, this isn't just some random noble. This man is the emperor himself. Alexander continues speaking, casually dropping truth bombs. He even says that Isaac might be closer to God than the current pope, making him the true final saint candidate. That stuns Isaac. A saint candidate? Him? That was definitely not part of the plan. The bishop, of course, is fuming. The emperor is starting to favor this child, and he can't allow that to happen. So he makes his move. He asks Alexander for permission to inspect the boy, claiming there's something unnatural about him. I mean, what baby drinks that much vegetable juice, right? But Alexander doesn't see the issue. If anything, it just makes Isaac look even more divine. Only a saint candidate could stomach monk food like that. Isaac, meanwhile, is still mentally spiraling. How could a former demon king like him possibly be a saint? The bishop keeps pushing. Finally, Alexander agrees to let him inspect the child, but only after someone from House Ejua arrives. Fair enough. While all this is going down, Isaac casually lets out a burp, accidentally releasing some demonic energy he couldn't digest. The second he realizes it, he slaps a hand over his mouth. He thinks he just blew his cover. And he's probably right. The bishop immediately senses something off. That was definitely demonic energy. Now he's got his excuse. He starts closing in, dead set on proving this kid is a fraud. He claims the child carries impure mana and demands an inquisitor be summoned to investigate him. Alexander is clearly running out of patience. The bishop is ranting nonstop, trying to paint a saint candidate as some demonic fake. Trying to cool things down, the bishop drops another card, says the pope has already made his choice. The official saint will be a child from House Barrett. That stuns Alexander. He finds it suspicious, maybe even insulting, that the Pope would just so happen to pick a child from his own house. And that's when everything clicks for Isaac. Now he knows why this creepy old man has been trying so hard to get rid of him. The bishop seizes his chance. He scoops Isaac into his arms, claiming he needs to take the child to a priest and summon an inquisitor. But before he gets far, the emperor stops him. Alexander reminds him, in no uncertain terms, that House Ezua is the imperial family's closest ally. And as emperor, he strongly suggests that the bishop reschedule this little inspection. The bishop freezes in his tracks. Then he tries a different approach. In a calm but threatening voice, he mentions that the Pope has decided the Crown Prince's investiture ceremony will only happen after the saint selection is complete. Translation: back off or the ceremony gets delayed.